Hello everybody, and welcome back to Cam Critiques. About 15 years ago, in a console generation where Devil May Cry's Dante looked like this, and big Japanese franchises like Kingdom Hearts and Persona saw no new console entries, PlatinumGames was a light in the darkness. After departing from Capcom, the people behind games like Okami and Beautiful Joe almost single-handedly kept that style of action game alive, with non-stop classics like Bayonetta, Vanquish, and Metal Gear Rising. They built up an unrivaled reputation among fans of the genre, and went into the following generation poised to rise to the upper echelons of the gaming industry. However, following a nearly non-stop sequence of fumbles over the past decade or so, they've lost almost all of their goodwill with their fans. As a huge PlatinumGames fan myself, I've continued to support them despite mess after mess, longing for the days when I thought the wonderful 101 was among their worst titles. But my patience has been wearing thin. I've been cautiously optimistic about Bayonetta 3, though I planned on finally accepting that the company wasn't what it used to be if that game disappointed me too. However, with the ongoing PR disaster sparked by Bayonetta's former voice actress, I don't think I need to wait. No matter how good the actual game of Bayonetta 3 may be, PlatinumGames isn't the company it used to be. Let's first address the elephant in the room, the Helena Taylor situation. Bayonetta has become a gaming icon thanks in no small part to our iconic voice. While a lot of work from a lot of people went into the creation of Bayonetta, I think it says a lot that, even in Japan, they opted to use an English dub for the series' debut. As more info has come out, it seems like Platinum was willing to pay well above industry standard, and Helena massively misrepresented the situation. So, while she may deserve more than $15,000 to $20,000, it's hard to argue that Platinum looks particularly bad in this situation. And who knows the source of the debatably low offer? Maybe Nintendo, Bayonetta 3's publisher, refused to allocate more money for the game's voice acting. Maybe PlatinumGames didn't have the money themselves, likely suffering from the massive failure of this year's Babylon's Fall. I find it hard to believe that Hideki Kamiya himself holds a grudge against Helena, though it's possible. I'd argue that, as more industry professionals such as Sean Chiplock, voice of Breath of the Wild's Rivali, chip in, this situation seems to be a problem with the voice acting industry rather than specifically Platinum, with Platinum even looking better than most of their peers. Still, the company's response to the situation is very telling. Before the unpleasant nature of Helena Taylor's departure from the series is fully unveiled, PlatinumGames claimed that her absence was a result of very vague, overlapping circumstances. And what did they do when this Helena story went public? Nothing. I'm just cutting in real quick to say that right after I finished editing this video, PlatinumGames put out an official response, and it is one of the worst responses I've ever seen. I appreciate the emphasis on treating Jennifer Hale, Bayonetta's new voice actress, with respect, but the statement essentially says nothing. It took a week for them to come out with 3 sentences that don't mention anything about voice acting or Helena Taylor. So I think my point still stands. The only higher up at PlatinumGames who has responded in any way is series creator and executive director of Bayonetta 3, Hideki Kamiya. And what did he do? Throw a fit on Twitter so pathetic that he got laughed off the site within 24 hours. Kamiya has always donned a cocky and rude persona, blocking so many fans on Twitter that it's become a meme within the community. But seeing how he responds to actual controversy, it's seeming more and more like that persona might have more ties to his true self than he wants us to believe. The disrespect shown by executives is far from the only problem Platinum faces though. Maybe not more importantly, but much more noticeably, is the degrading quality of the games they release. Since Bayonetta 2's launch over 8 years ago, they've put out approximately 2 games that were well received. This doesn't sound too bad until you realize that, in that time period, they put out 8 retail games. Those few years gave the likes of their licensed Legend of Korra and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle disasters, their franchise-killing Star Fox Zero, and the aforementioned Babylon's Fall, a live service game that died in under a year. As blunder after blunder became public, I tried to rationalize the best I could. Maybe Activision rushed Platinum on their licensed titles. Maybe Xbox is the sole reason the studio's most ambitious project, Scalebound, got cancelled. Maybe Nintendo was the source of all of Star Fox Zero's problems. Maybe Cygames decided to kick Platinum off of Grand Blue Fantasy Relink and rework the entire game on a whim. But with so many consecutive failures, it's hard to believe that the source of all the company's woes isn't the company itself. Even the rare gem the company has put out recently has shown signs of the company's decline. Their most recent success, 2019's Astral Chain, is a game that saw great reviews and solid sales. It was a big budget new IP with a unique aesthetic and a lot of love put behind it. The first PlatinumGames title where that was evident since the Wii U. But there's one problem, and I'll admit this may just be me, but I don't think Astral Chain is fun to play. I think the easiest way I can point out my problems with Astral Chain is by directly comparing it to Bayonetta. While Bayonetta has a rich combat system packed to the brim with different combinations of what feels like an endless pool of moves and a ranking system that encourages you to experiment and improve, you can get an S rank in just about every Astral Chain mission by spamming buttons. While Bayonetta is made of almost non-stop combat, Astral Chain throws bad, shallow minigames at you non-stop. While Bayonetta tells a simple narrative that's fun to follow and fits the style of the game perfectly, Astral Chain tries to tell an epic tale, which isn't what I want to interrupt an action game. Not to mention how poorly developed every character, especially the protagonist, is. Bayonetta is a very clean game. It's short, but everything feels deliberate. As a result, I find myself returning to it more than almost any other game. In comparison, Astral Chain is very bloated. It feels like most of it is filler. There's a level that is, I kid you not, simultaneously a poorly fleshed out stealth section, a sewer level, and an escort mission. The framework of a great 8-hour game is there, but it's buried beneath 20 hours of garbage. And the mindset that would lead a company to do this doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. From what I've heard, Babylon's Fall is far, far worse in this department. There is one other relatively recent hit from Platinum. Their most successful title by far is 2017's Nier Automata. And I adore Nier Automata. It's one of my favorite games of all time. But I don't really think Platinum has much to do with why. Nier Automata isn't just a PlatinumGames game. In fact, it's actually a sequel to a game they never touched. Nier is a Square Enix property, and Nier Automata saw a lot of Square Enix staff work on its development. And when I think of why I love Nier Automata so much, my mind goes to director Yoko Taro's incredible script, Kiichi Okabe's breathtaking soundtrack, and Akihiko Yoshida's extremely distinct art. Nier Automata is an action RPG, with Platinum largely handling the action element and Square largely handling the RPG elements. And while the action is fine, it's a big step up from that of the first Nier, it's nothing special. The combat isn't particularly deep or stylish. Without Square, I don't think the game would have been the hit it is. All the best parts were handled by somebody outside of Platinum. So Platinum hasn't been responsible for a great game in over 8 years now. And as a business, they've made countless blunders and ruffled countless feathers. I already had problems with things such as their insistence on investing in live service titles destined to fail, and their wonderful 101 Kickstarter draining money from fans for a game that was practically finished. But this voice actor scandal is their worst yet, and the response thus far is kind of embarrassing. Even Bayonetta 3 is a great game, PlatinumGames have done too much wrong for me to see them the way I used to anytime soon. They've demonstrated an arguable lack of morality and frankly also competence, time and time again. I'm not saying I'll never buy a game from Platinum ever again, and I don't want them to shut down or anything. They're no Activision Blizzard, but I think it's time for the gaming industry to finally recognize that they don't deserve the respect they earned in the early 2010s anymore.